announced. Jake Paul will face Mike Perry in a cruiserweight clash on July 20th in Florida ahead of his fight versus Mike Tyson on November 15th in Texas. This 8-round boxing match is priced at $64.99 on DAZN pay-per-view. I wish it was in bare knuckle, but we all know who won't step up to the plate for that. Either way, seems like a bit of a risk for Paul to take this bout ahead of a major Netflix Mike Tyson attraction, but here we go. Both virtually faced off at MMAR and also exchanged trash talk. Two big fights are announced by Bellator as well. Usman Nurmagomedov returns to defend his Bellator MMA lightweight title against Alexander Shevely on September 7th in San Diego. And Johnny Ablin and Fabian Edwards will run it back for the Bellator MMA middleweight title on September 14 at the OVO Arena, Wembley in London, England. ONE FC also announced their Triple Champs next bout, where Malakin faced Rogrog at 169 for his ONE heavyweight title on Friday, November 8 at State Farm Arena, Atlanta. Two UFC fights are announced too for UFC Abu Dhabi card. Javed Basharat returns on August 3rd and he takes on Chris Gutierrez in the bantamweight division, while Jai Herbert will fight Ronaldo Badoya in the same event. In the mid of these announcements, two UFC fights are cancelled too. Mike Davis has announced he is out of his UFC Denver fight with Drew Dober on July 13 due to a torn bicep which requires surgery. Jailton Lutterbach also says on Instagram that he was pulled from UFC Saudi Arabia this weekend due to a flagged urine test. He admits that he used PEDs 3 months ago before he knew he was getting signed by the UFC. Luckily, his opponent Shara Magomedov will stay on the card and he will fight Antonio Tricoli at UFC Saudi Arabia this weekend. There were rumors that Khamzat Chimaev, the guy who was supposed to headline this card, pulled out of the fight due to food poisoning, but his good friend Tam Khan says rumors suggesting Chimaev withdrew from UFC Saudi Arabia due to food poisoning are completely wide of the mark. We don't know the truth behind this story, but what we do know is Khamzat Chimaev's bout with Robert Whittaker was his 5th scheduled main event. Every time Chimaev has had a main event bout scheduled, it has been cancelled. 3 times against Edwards, then against Diaz, and now this time against Whittaker. 3 times title challenger Colby Covington thinks that Khamzat Chimaev is going to get exposed soon and he is not as good as everybody thinks he is. Daniel Cormier also worries Khamzat Chimaev will never meet his star potential. Ikram Alyaskarov, the guy who replaces Khamzat Chimaev, says that his mentality is anyone, anywhere, at any time. He says he wants to be a champion, and if you want to be a champion, this should be your mentality. His opponent Robert Whittaker is also aware of the danger and he admits that it could be a harder fight than Khamzat Chimaev. The undercard fight of this event, Calvin Gastelum vs Daniel Rodriguez, will now take place at middleweight rather than welterweight. Gastelum was looking likely to miss the welterweight limit, so they just changed the division. Now let's talk about Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler situation. Renato Moicano admits it wouldn't be an easy decision but thinks it is probably time for Michael Chandler to move on from Conor McGregor matchup or risk being victimized by the trolling of the century. Michael Chandler, not giving a shit about these kind of comments, says that he will be in attendance at UFC 303 next weekend because it was his event and he was supposed to headline it. When the question about him was asked to Dana White, he replied, "I think poor Chandler wants to wait for Conor McGregor. If he wants to get a fight this summer, we will do whatever he wants. Whatever he wants to do, we will figure out for him." And with Dana's these comments about Michael Chandler, it certainly doesn't seem like McGregor vs Chandler happens until late this year at the earliest. Talking about the Conor McGregor situation, Chael Sonnen suggests Conor McGregor is not injured and in rehab for substance abuse. When Jake Paul was asked if there is any invitation for Conor McGregor to attend the fight, Jake replied, "We can get him 4th or 5th row tickets. He is embarrassing himself. He is ruining his legacy with all the drugs and the way he looks online. He lost his mind. Now the current headliner of UFC 303, Alex Pereira, shares a video putting into practice the judo throw taught to him by Kayla Harrison a few weeks ago. And after watching the video, Coach Kayla gives Alex Pereira the opportunity to earn his yellow belt at UFC 303 with saying, "When he throws Jiri with this, I will promote him to yellow belt." Anthony Smith, who is fighting on the same card, says title shot against Alex Pereira lines up with the UFC 303 win. With his most recent win against Alex Perez, Tatsuro Taira says he is ready for a title shot but also excited to fight anyone in the flyweights top 10. Currently, he is the only Japanese fighter ranked among top 5 in a UFC division. But there is another one coming. UFC's new signing, Rizin's bantamweight champion Kai Asakura, will not fight in UFC's bantamweight division, and instead he will be fighting in the UFC's flyweight division, and UFC is already looking for a match for him among the top 5. Dana White recently gave an interview to Club Shay Shay where he said that there is a possibility that Amanda Nunes could come back. He also said that Francis Ngannou didn't want to fight John Jones, and also said John Jones would do the same thing to Francis Ngannou that he did to Cyril Gane. When he was asked about UFC Sphere, Dana White tells that he is already 16 million deep into preparing the Sphere for UFC 306 on September 14th. He says it will be one and done, and it will be the greatest live support event of all time. He said, "This is my love letter to Mexico, the Mexican people, and the history of combat in Mexico." Talking about the boxing, Dana White says, "Boxing got so fucked up that nobody could actually make a living out of it, that Saudi Arabia had to take it over. A group of people that have so much money, they do not care whatever they make or lose money. That's how fucked up boxing got." When Jake Paul was asked what he thinks Dana White would say about his fight with Mike Perry, Jake replied,
"He would say whatever bullshit he could about this fight, but what I listen to is the court of public opinion."
Top Rank won the rights to the Davin Haney vs Sander Martin WBC Super Lightweight title purse bids today with 2.4 million. Remains to be seen if Haney will proceed with the fight or vacate. Top Rank was the lone bidder for Davin Haney's WBC 114 mandatory defense. 10% goes to WBC to hold as bonus for the winner. Remaining 90% is 70-30 in Haney's favor. Per Top Rank, plan is to put on the fight in early fall. Haney reacts to Eddie Hearn's Matchroom not bidding in the purse bids for the Sander Martin fight, saying, "Wow Matchroom, nasty work." Hearn told the reason to Ariel Helwani for not bidding. He said it's not an appealing fight and had no value. Hearn has said he would be open to making Liam Paro vs Davin Haney for Paro's IBF Super Lightweight title in October in Australia if Haney opts to vacate his WBC instead of fighting Sander Martin. On the other hand, Top Rank's Bob Arum has said he would be open to making Teofimo Lopez vs Davin Haney next for Lopez WBO Super Lightweight World title if Haney opts to vacate his belt instead of fighting Sander Martin. Amidst of this situation, Haney suggests that he may now take a break from boxing and only return for the Ryan Garcia rematch. Garcia responds on Instagram saying definitely a vibe. It was more like a 6 knockdowns. Referee should have stopped it. And then in a tweet, Ryan Garcia says he is officially retired. The New York Commission will hold a meeting to decide Ryan Garcia's fate before the end of this week following his positive drug test around the Davin Haney fight. On Garcia's retirement tweet, Davin Haney's father and trainer Bill Haney reacts to Ryan Garcia's claiming he is now retired from boxing, and he said in 48 hours Ryan Garcia will be suspended. Bill Haney says that he is not taking part in negotiations for any fight until Garcia's doping case is adjudicated and Haney's record is accordingly adjusted. Davis vs Lomachenko talks are likely to resume within the next week for a potential WBA and IBF lightweight world title unification fight in November or December, Bob Arum has said. Frank Martin on Instagram, with his first post since the Gervonta Davis defeat, said, "Heads high, can't let your wins to get your head and your losses to get your heart. I'll be back better than ever." Bob Arum has revealed about Noah Inoue that Inoue is planning to fight TJ Doheny on September 9th in Japan rather than Murodjon Ahmadaliev and then face Sam Goodman in December. He said this is because Doheny has won several fights in Japan and is already popular in the country. Eddie Hearn opposed Bob Arum and appealed Bob Arum not to give fans a mismatch. David Benavidez's team have also made it clear that their priority remains to fight Canelo Alvarez, and Benavidez would be ready to get back into the training and take the fight in September. Mario Barrios has now been officially upgraded from interim to full WBC welterweight world champion after Terence Crawford was made champion in recess. And last but not least, the WBO have now officially ordered Emmanuel Navarrete to defend his WBO super featherweight world title in a rematch versus Oscar Valdez next. Parties have 20 days to agree a deal, then purse bids. And that's all. Like the video, hit the subscribe button, tell me your thoughts in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next video. So till then, do whatever you want.